Oh, look at that! Wow, I got a little thing going on here. There we go. Let's make it look pretty. There we go. There we go. Now we got it. Oh yeah. Oh well. Anyway, wait till a couple people come up here. I wanted to take a moment and talk about one of the things that if I get a lot of questions, there are two things I get a lot of questions about. The first thing is, in Texas, what can a municipality or a government entity do to, where can they ban guns? Hey, living in America, how you doing? Rory, how you doing? And the other question I get is about signage. And so I wanted to demystify what the signs mean, both for private businesses and for individuals, so that you understand what the 3005, 3006, and 3007 sign requirements are and what they mean, really. Because it's gotten very complicated. The state has made this issue as complicated as possible, which means that people are more likely to at least end up in trouble by way of either a citation or an arrest, even though they didn't break the law, because I guarantee you even law enforcement officers don't understand the law. So I will start with the question that was just asked by Emmanuel down there. Do no gun signs hold any weight of law in Texas?
There's a speed trap ahead.
No. Sorry, I'm heading back up to Dallas again. I don't know what it is about me having to drive 2 to 3 hours every time I got to go deal with something. Anyway, this time I'm not dealing with anything. I'm going to see Trapped in concert. So he and I are going to do a podcast a little bit later on this afternoon or this evening. Chris Taylor Brown and I. Anyway, so the short answer is no. If you go into a place and all they have is a gunbuster sign, or it just says no guns, legally that means nothing here in Texas. Okay, it means absolutely nothing. The notice requirement is, at least the written notice requirement, is very, very specific, and that notice requirement is contained in Penal Code section 3005, 3006, and 3007. So, as you know, with the passage of HB 1927, you no longer need to have a license to carry a firearm. What you also know is that 30.6 and 30.7 signs that prevent open and concealed carry only apply to a license to carry holder. So if you have a license and you see a 30.06 sign, that means you cannot conceal into that building. If you have a license and you see a 30.07 sign, that means you cannot open carry into that building. If you see a 30.6 and a 30.7 sign and you have a license, you cannot carry openly or concealed into that building. Here's the funny part. If you only see a 30.6 sign, you can carry openly or concealed without a license, or you can carry openly with a license, because a 30.6 means no concealed carry for a license holder. So unless you see a 30.7 as well, you can legally open carry in there. And conversely, if you see a 30.7, you can open carry, or you can conceal carry in that building, but you cannot openly carry if you see a 30.7. Now, where it gets tricky, and this is where a lot of people are wrong, and I think you're going to learn something. If you see a 30.6 and a 30.7 sign, those only apply. You would think that means, oh, no guns are allowed in here, because historically that's what it meant. 30.6, 30.7 means you can't carry in there, because you used to have a license to be able to carry openly or concealed. Well, now if all they have is a concealed carry sign, or I'm sorry, a 30.6 or 30.7 sign, and you do not have a license, you're carrying without a license, those signs do not apply to you. You can carry without a license into a business that posts 30.6 and 30.7. You can legally carry openly or concealed, because those two signs only apply to licensed to carry holders, as authorized under Chapter 411 of the Government Code. Now, here's where it gets fun, the 30.5 sign. A lot of people think that if you put a 30.5 sign up there, which also has to have specific language, in both English and Spanish, and 1-inch height, contrasting letters, all that kind of stuff. A 30-5 sign only applies to unlicensed carriers, and it means no guns, openly or concealed. So, unlike the license holders, they need to have 2 signs to ban open and concealed carry. A 30-5 sign means that if you do not have a license, you cannot carry openly or concealed. So it's 1 sign for 2, but that sign only applies to unlicensed gun owners and people who are carrying guns for which they do not have a Texas license to carry, or a license to carry, or concealed handgun license with reciprocity. If you have a license in the state of Texas and you see a 30-5 sign, it does not apply to you at all. If you have a license, you can carry openly or concealed on a 30-5 sign. So, CJ, how do they ban gun owners in the building if they don't want any guns in the building? They have to have a 30-5, a 30-6, and a 30-7 sign. That's how a business can legally provide written notice that you're not allowed to have your guns there. All right, now that said, the law also allows for verbal notice. So if a person comes up to you and says, hey, we don't allow guns in here, you have 2 options. 1, leave. Because if they don't allow guns in there, why would you give them their money anyway? Give them your money. Or 2, you could say, well, does that apply to licensed carriers or unlicensed carriers? Which of those, when you say no guns, are you talking about no guns at all? Or do you mean licensed carriers versus unlicensed carriers? And of course, they're probably going to say no guns at all. But they might only say, no, only if you don't have a license. We just don't allow people without a license. Okay, then I'm good because I've got a license. That's it. That's the simple way to do it. If you are a business and you want to make sure that your customers can be easily slaughtered, you have to put up a 30-5, 30-6, and 30-7 sign in order to provide written notice to patrons that come in there that you don't want them helping you stop a mass shooter in your business. 30-6, 30-7 only apply to license holders. 30-5 only applies to unlicensed holders. And here's the thing, you've got to read all of 30-5, okay? Because a lot of people, they only read the part where it says, if you want to prohibit guns, you can put a 30-5 sign. But if you go further down into that section, you'll see that section does not apply. 30-5 does not apply to a license to carry holder, okay? It's further down. I don't know why they put it so far away that people don't read further down into the statute, because it talks about firearms and it talks about a whole bunch of other stuff. And then later it says, this section does not apply to citizens who are licensed under the authority of Chapter 411, whatever. That's what that means. It means that if you have a license to carry, or you have a reciprocal license from another state that Texas recognizes, 30-5 does not apply to you. Those are the rules. That's what you need to know. Now, one more thing. Parks and other places like that. If you look at local government code 229.001, 229.001, when HB 1927 was passed, that got rid of the mandatory requirement for a license, it also changed the law about city parks and municipal parks and stuff like that. It used to be, the old law was, the cities could ban guns in parks, but only if you did not have a license to carry. So only unlicensed people are the people that you could ban from a city park or a county park or a state park or whatever, okay? The new law, and so what that really applied to was rifles. So if you don't have a license to carry, you couldn't, the only thing you'd be able to carry back in the day was a rifle, because you didn't need a license for that. Now, the law is not just cities can't prohibit, or cities can prohibit guns in parks if the person is not licensed or is not otherwise prohibited from carrying a firearm. So if you are lawfully able to purchase, possess, and own a firearm, a city park cannot ban you from carrying a firearm in that city park, in that county park, etc. Okay? That's local government code 229.001. I just got done talking to a client who's down in Texas City. Texas City has an ordinance. It's an old ordinance. It's from back in 1995. You can tell they haven't messed with it. It's an unlawful ordinance, but it's an ordinance on the books nonetheless. And it says no firearms in parks at all. Now, up until last year, that applied to only unlicensed people. Now it applies to no one except for people who can't legally carry a gun. This is the problem when you start infringing upon the Constitution, is that you've got to learn all these little nuances, all these little, what can I do, what can I not do? I just wanted to make sure that you understood what the law was, how the signs apply to you. And once again, even if the signs are not up, or let's just say they only have one of 3 signs. Let's say they only have a 30-06 sign, so you're allowed to open carry. You open carry in there, and they say, hey, sir, we don't allow guns in here, or, sir, we don't allow open carry in here, but you're free to conceal carry. Under the law, that is sufficient notice. So don't say, well, you don't have any signs up, so I'm just going to keep on carrying. If they tell you you can't have a gun in there, or you can't open carry, and you don't go to conceal carry, you are now in violation of those sections. So there you go. So it only applies now to convicted criminals, not even convicted criminals. It only applies to prohibited persons. So I guess if you're a felon, it applies to you. If you are a domestic abuser, and you've been found guilty of domestic violence, it applies to you. But otherwise, even if you're a convicted criminal, you got some misdemeanors on your record, it doesn't apply to you. Okay, unless you are a prohibited person. That's the only time that would apply. Yeah. If you come to Texas, the laws are so weird. You definitely got to carry a cheat sheet. Does the Bruin case change any of that? I would argue that the Bruin case changes all of it. However, guess what that means? It doesn't mean that cops don't care, or it doesn't mean that cops care. They don't care. It's if the law is still on the books, even if they know it's unconstitutional or you know it's unconstitutional, they're still going to arrest you for it. And you're probably going to have to, go for the ride. You might beat the rap, but you won't beat the ride. So what's the punishment for violation of no gun signs? It's a Class A misdemeanor. So you can serve up to a year in jail. Are you talking about, if you're talking about just no gun signs, like if they just put up a sign that says no guns, or they put up a picture of a pistol with a hash through it, there's no penalty for that. But if there's a 30-06 sign and they can prove that, now here's the thing. If you didn't see the sign and you go in and then someone says, hey, you need to leave, and you leave, the maximum punishment is $200. There's no jail time at all. If you don't leave, or you start arguing with them about whether or not, you don't have any signs up, or this only applies to license holders and I'm an unlicensed holder, or this applies to unlicensed holders and I'm a licensed holder, and you refuse to leave, or you refuse to cover up if it's a no open carry, that's where the Class A misdemeanor comes into play. Now, I will gladly take those kinds of cases, because I personally believe that law is unconstitutional as well. I think if a business is open to the public, I don't believe that they have the legal authority to violate your rights and to discriminate against you because of your constitutional rights, just like they can't discriminate against women, minorities, gay people, etc. I think there's an argument to be made that the Second Amendment is not a subservient right to these other rights, and therefore a business open to the public cannot infringe upon someone's Second Amendment rights. That's just an argument that needs to be made against the statute here in Texas, and I'm willing to defend anybody on that statute and create that case law. It's going to be hard, but I really do think, since the Bruin case came out, that we have an argument, a really good argument. All right, so Temple, Texas, yeah, they've got. Last I saw, they put it on a piece of paper too. They put the notice on like a 3 or a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in really small letters. So Temple Mall isn't doing it right. They're not providing effective notice under the law. All right, guys. I wanted to keep this to 15 minutes. It's 15 and a half minutes. So take care, y'all. Be safe. Be free. Like and share this video. Let other people know what the law is. This is the easiest and simplest explanation you're going to find. And I'm telling you right now, you are going to hear from people who claim to be experts in this field because, oh, I teach the license carry class. That does not make you an expert. It means that you taught exactly what DPS told you to teach, not the law. And there are LTC instructors out there that say, if you see a 30-05 sign, it means no guns. Doesn't matter if you have a license or not. That is not what the statute says under 30.5. Read the entire Penal Code section 30.05, and you'll see for yourself that the section under 30.5 does not apply if you are licensed under Chapter 411, which is the license to carry statute. All right, take care, be safe, be free. I'll see y'all down in the comments.